Hey everyone, just wanted to give a quick heads up that you only have one more week to get in our listener survey. I'm going to be visiting Pat on August 27th, where we're going to go onto YouTube Live and pour over the data and do some fun things together. So go to reminiscentpodcast.com/2021 survey. That's 2021 survey to answer just a handful of questions. And if you want a shout out on the show, we'll give you one. And everyone that has participated is being entered into a giveaway where we're giving away stickers, prints, and even a Zoom call with Pat and myself. Quite a few more people filled out the survey and wanted shout-outs, so we want to thank Colleen, Jess Isaacs, Thomas Pebber, God, I'm sorry, dude, Devin, Brock King, JJ, Kylie Green, and Belle Sproutington. Thank you for filling out the survey. This information is very, very useful. We really want to make this show as good as possible and as fun as possible. Again, that URL is reminiscentpodcast.com/2021 survey. And thank you to everyone who's filled it out. And now to the episode. We're in the big leagues now, boys.
Yeah, we made it. I think we could probably just stop doing the show.
Yeah, we've peaked. Do you want to tell the people what happened?
Yeah, so John Mayer released an album called Sob Rock. And season 2 of I Think You Should Leave was released on Netflix. And there's a skit about zany shirt designs. If you haven't seen it at this point, I don't want to spoil it, but also that maybe that gives it away, even by trying to cloak it like that. I don't know. But at some point, Tim, you says the phrase, "That's exactly my style." And we took a screenshot and tweeted with the caption, "John Mayer releases an album called Sob Rock." And we didn't tag anybody. And the tweet did okay, as some of our tweets are wont to do. And then a few days later, it was in John Mayer's Instagram story. And I don't know how. I really have no idea how that happened. But people started liking the tweet like crazy on Twitter, finding it, like finding us a little bit. Somebody released a Sob Rock reaction video from YouTube onto the tweet, trying to like catch a little bit of the, I guess, I don't know.
Okay.
You know how when you open a viral tweet, it wasn't even viral, but when you open it, the first one, Anyway,
Right.
Some guy had made a John Mayer reaction video and tried to suck
my
up some of that
Whoa.
tweet energy. Days later, there was none left, but
So like we were the micro-influencers in this situation?
micro-influencers, interesting, yes. But the mystery remains. I'm not sure how Mr. Mayer caught wind of the tweet to begin with. Maybe some publicist or somebody brought it to his attention after scouring Twitter. Who's to say? But that's it. The show's over.
Pretty gnarly. I was just like sitting at my computer, you call and you're like, look at John Mayer's Instagram. And then logging into Instagram, we found a DM from the singer of one of our favorite bands in there. It was a pretty good day for the podcast. I'll say that.
Yeah, it was like a heartfelt message about a recent episode that their wife had encouraged them to listen. And it was kind of bizarre, like telling my wife, like, hey, I got to go do some work for the show. She's like, oh yeah, like what? It's like, we're just chatting with John Mayer and a few musicians real quick, But no, the DM was great to receive. It was like the weirdest 2 hours we've ever had in the last 5 years, I'd say. It was pretty insane, pretty surreal.
Yeah,
but
pretty nuts.
We've made it. That's it. Bye, everybody.
Bye. What is going on, everybody? I'm Tom.
And I'm Pat.
We're best friends, and you're listening to the Reminiscent Podcast. So, one of my favorite songs in the genre, one of the earliest memories of favorite songs in the genre, this is an 8th grade song for me. It's kind of an 8th grade band, even though they have... There's some takes about the longevity of this band and the legacy act that they've become that I want to make maybe later on. But we're here today for Newfound Glory. Probably is this their biggest song?
That's a loaded question, my boy.
Probably. I feel like if you know one song from them, it might be hit or miss though.
Oh, I would have guessed All Downhill From Here. Put it on the poll as if we have like a tech guy sitting in the corner, as if we're in the same room. Okay, throw it up on the poll. What's the biggest? We'll do it on the day of release, maybe, or something. But yeah, it's a good question. What was interesting to me, you say it was an 8th grade band, And I think if you know the show, you know that 8th grade is not when these things came out. It's just when we started receiving these CDs. But yeah, what's interesting about all this is early 2000s, 2001, 2002 type situation. Once we dig into the music video a little bit, it feels almost like the 90s hadn't ended yet a little bit. So kind of, I'm interested to dig into that a little bit today, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm kind of like, I don't know. I like the take, but you're going to have to sell me on it. So maybe that'll be...
I'm prepared. I think I'm prepared too.
All right. So
also, that's the most friendly we've ever been about a take on the show. It's like, you know what? I'm intrigued. I'll do proceed. I will,
I'm here
sir.
for it.
I'm prepared, and I have come to this field today ready to explain myself.
All right. So what do we got? My Friends Over You, Newfound Glory. We've got some fun facts.
Well, I mean, you might as well just hit the anecdote, even if it's real quick. We've done it once or twice.
Okay.
Anecdotes.
So, yeah.
Buckle up for some memories from our childhood.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of
Buckle
really...
up, baby. It's about to get nostalgic. Brought to you by... No, that segment is not sponsored.
MeUndies. All right. So
Reliving trauma with Stamps.com. Reliving the angst with Taco Bell's new Baja Blast Part 2. Live Moss.
Oh, I'm listening.
Make your memories last into the next day with a weird bathroom trip. Taco Bell.
Lots of good memories attached to this song. I'm just waiting for you to go again.
I'm interested that you say lots of good, because there's really one notably bad one.
Oh, I know. I mean, like, lots of good memories.
By lots of good, I mean one of the worst of my life.
The one that comes to mind, I don't know if this was an episode that we have released yet or if it was an AMA for the Patreon. But at some point, someone asked, have you ever sang to a girl? And what was the reaction? And I have, and the reaction was bad. And that same girl, I was kind of like just listening to this through. What would it have been through? I mean, this was deep into the days of the 4 gig
pre-mini
iPod Mini.
I imagine. Yeah.
No, this was iPod Mini. I got that.
Okay.
I got that thing in 8th grade, but it didn't have speakers on it, so I don't know how I would have been listening to it out loud. But she heard the song My Friends Over You, and she was like, are you trying to tell me something? And like, deep in my heart, I wanted to be like, yes, but there was like a fight all day, because I was playing the song My Friends Over You, and she thought, well, if you didn't feel that way, then you wouldn't be listening to that song on repeat. But really, it's just, at the time, I have never heard a halftime beat like this, or maybe like in general ever. Like, I think Newfound Glory are like the kings of the halftime beat, maybe just a step above Cartel, because Newfound Glory really leans into it
and came first by a lot.
Oh, yeah. That's
compared
right.
to Cartel, if we're having that discussion, but yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, you've shared that memory on the show before, and I think it speaks to how early in the decade we are at this point. I think it's safe to say you were still a child at this point and everything. These are middle school relationships we're talking about at this point. We are not in high school yet. And for me, it was the riff. I think we might have taken it in the riff draft. But what was interesting is we tried to cover All Downhill From Here maybe like a year and a half ago. Yeah. And maybe it didn't get quite the number of listens at the time. Things have changed a lot in the last 2 years. But when you said, hey, we should do My Friends Over You, and I was watching the video, I'm like, and some of the things we'll get to later, some of the reasons why, but like, I think if nothing else today, I'd like to give credit where credit's due in the Newfound Glory category. If it's all right with you, if it pleases the court.
It pleases the court, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, but yeah, I mean, this dates pretty far back into the decade, into our lives. That's one of your first memories, because sometimes there's definitely, if people listen, they know there's like 3 to 5 distinct girlfriend eras for Tom, and if we're in the first era, then we must have been pretty tiny at the time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure exactly how old this memory would have been. I mean, I don't remember the first time I ever listened to them. Someone in 8th grade at the school where we met introduced me, because I remember lying to my mom about going to one of those like $3 concerts that Penn State Barron put on. I went there and I saw Reggie and the Full Effect open. It was great. And then I suffered through Isley. And Pat, I mean, I suffered through Isley. Their music was not really what I was in the mood for at the time or ever.
I was going to come in from the ropes with a Blazin', but I'm not familiar enough with Isley to judge that take appropriately. So you'll have to hit us up at _reminiscentfm.com on Twitter. Jesus Christ. I can't even do the Taco Bell. I feel bad about ripping Taco Bell because they've been there for me in some low points. So I feel kind of guilty about that. So I can't even do the promo for the Twitter right. I'm just kind of in my head right now. So I'll let you keep going.
It was just a weird flow for the show. Reggie and the Full Effect is like super high energy. And then Isley was like super mellow, emo, clean guitars, and then Newfound Glory. To me, the lineup made no sense at all. But I think...
Is that the beauty of the Newfound Glory shows you've seen in your life, though? Because you've mentioned the first time you've seen them a little bit on the show. I'm curious to hear where you've seen them the most. What city, maybe what venue? Because they might be the band you've seen the most, or in your top 3 at least, right?
It's between them and Dangerous Summer, because Newfound Glory would come to either Pittsburgh, Buffalo, or Cleveland twice a year, and I would go every time, and it was always like $7. So I've seen them a lot, and I've seen them in much better lineups than this. But anyway,
have you seen them enough? Like, the band I've seen the most by far is Weezer, like, big surprise. But do you ever get so like intimate with their live performances that you start to like have opinions about where they are, like headspace wise that night? You're like, oh, they must be going through something, because this is not, what I envisioned for coming off this album at this point in time, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know if you were able to kind of pick up on those sorts of things, like, or counterpoint is to speak to the brilliance of Newfound Glory, where every time you've seen them, they're kind of given the energy that they portray in their music and what they like kind of bring to the table just as a band in general.
I mean, when I see a band that I love, I typically don't even really notice them on the stage too much. I am like in my own plane of existence in the pit. It was like that when I saw Blink live, when I saw Angels and Airwaves, Taking Back Sunday.
Tom's eyes roll back into his head, and it's just, there's no pupils for like an hour and a half. He's just in a different plane.
Honestly, that's what it feels like. But the first time I saw Newfound Glory, I mean, you know how I get with songs. I find one that I like and I just listen to it on repeat for like 11 years.
Honestly, when your first girlfriend said, "Are you trying to tell me something?" and you're like, "I haven't even heard of the lyrics yet." Like, what is he even saying? I'm not sure. I'm not much of a lyrics guy. You know this about me.
But I saw Newfound Glory for the first time, and I was like desperate to get to the show. I lied to my mom about who I would be with. She dropped me off at the show. I kind of ended up there alone. And the only song I knew was My Friends Over You. And of course, the band closed with it. So not only did I like not know the first 2 bands, the band that I was actually there for, I only knew one of their songs. And they played it at the very end, and I just lost my fucking mind. But I mean, they're a really, really fun band to watch live. And I would have been 13 years old. It was either late 2004 or early 2005. And there were all these people crowd surfing, and I was like it was my first like show that I've ever been to ever. Like, there was no context of what to expect. And I saw people crowd surfing, and I remember looking up being like, oh my God. And this guy next to me who might've been in college was like, you want to go up? And I was like, what do you mean? And he picked me up by the armpits and threw me into the air. And then I was just crowd surfing, and I crowd surfed like all night, and I had the time of my fucking life. And then the encore, they played My Friends Over You. And it was just like the best thing that had ever happened to me. Like, it was my first live show experience, and it was I mean, the first half was a little rough, but it was nuts, man. It was nuts.
Can we talk about Sticks and Stones just a little bit and then kind of move into the fast facts? But the question I want to ask is, My Friends Over You comes in at track 2 after Understatement as track 1 on Sticks and Stones. Thoughts on whatever the hell that headspace is for the listener and for the band, maybe, because it's a pretty aggressive 1-2 punch. I haven't done the appropriate legwork to say it's the most of the decade or anything like that. I don't want to just be spitting hyperbole at everybody, but it's a bit of a mood. Any thoughts? Because it's an aggressive mood, I think, would be one word to start with. I'm sick of smiling. So is my jaw. My Friends Over You. Actually, can we let's back up even further and zoom out even wider? Is New Found Glory an emo band?
Oh, so I always equate emo to like what Isley would have been.
Keep in mind they wrote a song called "Failure's Not Flattering."
I don't know. Is the music too fun to be emo? Like, I feel like emo has to be super boring and whiny.
I will say the Olivia Rodrigo, Machine Gun Kelly emo discourse in 2020, 2021 on Twitter as the pandemic keeps us inside debating dumb shit. People have so many takes about what emo is and is not. So I'm kind of like, I'm pretty sure New Found Glory is. But then if someone like made a well thought out argument as to why they super are not, I'd listen and probably agree. I don't know. But yeah, I was just curious about that. And if it's not emo, what are we going to call the energy of Understatement Into My Friends Over You here on Sticks and Stones? What turned out to be a pretty important album to set up maybe the decade, I might argue.
So there was something on Reddit, I think it might have been 2 days ago. Someone asked if someone had never heard of the genre pop punk before, what song are you playing to them to like describe the entire genre in 3.5 minutes? I said it would have been My Friends Over You. To me, that is like the definition of my understanding of pop punk. I mean, it has evolved since, but like, you know, a lot of people were saying Dookie, they were saying Dude Ranch, they were saying Enema.
I don't know if Dude Ranch explains as much what it's become.
Right. The origins, maybe more so.
Well, I don't know. New Found Glory, I feel like they're not as old as Blink or Green Day. Maybe they're as old as Blink or in that ballpark a little more, but yeah, they're definitely kind of the granddaddies of, their grandsons taking family names and stuff and moving forward. All Time Low and Story So Far and everything.
Story So Far.
Right, which I wanted to touch on that later, but kind of just like, as we get into the fast facts, like they're formed in 97 out of Florida. The same scene, which is my favorite factoid from the show, as Dashboard Confessional, like they were in the same local scene, which is amazing. It's just amazing and speaks to how it's kind of before. I don't know. I think my argument here, as I build my case for it, was still the 90s, was they were literally formed in the 90s. And by '02, they were coming out with Sticks and Stones. And I don't know, a lot of stuff hadn't even happened yet. I mean, like our show really talks about how in '05, emo was here for sure, but I'm not so sure it was as here in '03, let alone '02, '01. You know what I mean? Like, people were still kind of grappling with Blink-182's fart stuff in 2001, I feel like. 99, right. 2000, 2001, like there was kind of a momentum shift or kind of I don't know. I don't really want to make this a Woodstock 99 documentary discussion at the moment, but kind of like obviously nu metal is still a thing. So it's kind of tough to define what New Found Glory was in real time at the time, I'm sure. But now, yeah, I think My Friends Over You would have to kind of be like, hey, this is, if we were going to take the limb of the tree and the pop punk limb, this would have to be pretty, one of the foundational pieces.
So the way that I would maybe think about it is like, I don't know, themes on this album are emo with a lowercase e, but I wouldn't equate New Found Glory to be like an emo uppercase e band. Because even like Take It Back Sunday, it's hard for me to think of them as emo because it's like there's too much energy to it. I don't know. Like to me, emo has to be like Conor Oberst stuff, like just real humdrum and like real melancholy. Like Hit or Miss is way too fun sounding to be emo because it makes me want to dance in a happy way. I don't know. Like, I mean, I'm not an emo historian, but I'm wondering if like in the very early days of emo, it was this kind of really melancholy thing. And then 2005 hits and now My Chemical Romance is making like blockbuster hits and they're emo, but there's a lot of energy to the music. I don't know if like the genre itself either changed or it split off into two, and then all these other bands like Take It Back Sunday get called emo even though it's so dramatically different than what it used to be. I think if New Found Glory does even breach the emo spectrum, they are like way on one end, barely outside of the ring. But that's just my dumb thoughts. Yeah,
those are pretty dumb thoughts, to be honest. Just kidding. No, I think if we're doing like total binary, I'd put them more in the pop punk discussion than anything. But I appreciate you indulging me. Just, I don't know, if we're talking about like the state champs of the world and all the kind of the two 2010s bands that kind of did that pop punk, kind of like, I used to phrase it as cookie cutter pop punk. It sounds exactly like 2010s pop punk. I guess if you know, you know, right? It's kind of like My Friends Over You became several different albums or whatever. But that's unfair to all those bands. But like, yeah, I would say they're more pop punk than emo. Anyway, you want to do some fast facts and run through kind of like what built us up to this song coming out and everything like that?
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. So this was off Sticks and Stones, but in September 2000, their self-titled second album came out, joint release between MCA and Drive-Thru Records, lead single Hit or Miss, heavy airplay, so they're like on people's radar. Bassist of Blink-182, Mark Hoppus, who is a bassist for Blink-182, was highly impressed. I'm just like a pretty professional radio guy at this point. Just talking real well, real smooth, never, doubling back over my words or repeating things. It's pretty fun. Thanks for being here. Sorry for everything. But Hoppus was impressed by Newfound Glory's self-titled, going as far as to champion them in an issue of Rolling Stone. And then they eventually toured together, which makes a ton of sense, I guess, at the time. Similar energies, which would have been an insane tour to see.
Right. Jesus Christ.
That's an appropriate response, is to just say, oh, man. Blink-182's manager, Rick DeVoe, met Newfound Glory and soon afterwards began managing them. Did you get from the Wikipedia stuff and kind of the light research we do for the show that Neil Avron would have been behind both Sticks and Stones and the self-titled? Because they talk a lot about Avron, how he approached the drums for both records, and how heading into Sticks and Stones, he was going to let Cyrus Belushi play what he wanted a little more and maybe unleash him a bit more for Sticks and Stones. Do you have any thoughts, speaking about that energy on track 1, track 2 on Sticks and Stones, any thoughts on like letting him loose a little bit, or like what that transition for the band might have been like, maybe after being with Blink for a little while, heading into this album's release and everything like that?
I mean, Newfound Glory is another victim of LimeWire to me, where like, I'm not really, I hate to say this, with the exception of Sticks and Stones, I'm not familiar with, like, I can't put on an album and know every song by heart. Like, it was a lot of their singles when I was using LimeWire. So like, even just saying like self-titled, like, shit, what was on the self-titled album again? Which is embarrassing to say, but I always thought Cyrus was a real sick drummer. And Neil Avron, I mean, he's one of like these legendary producers that probably half the bands we talk about have worked with him. And yeah, good call on his part to let Cyrus do whatever he wants with drums, because I always thought he had such a fun like groove to his drum parts. Like, nothing was like super outstanding in terms of like technicality or anything, but he always knew like what would complement the vibe of the song the most. And I've always appreciated that about him. Yeah. I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's good that...
You mentioned like a little bit about the 2 floor tom thing a little bit, right?
Oh, yeah. So there was something in there about how Cyrus wanted to incorporate like a second floor tom. But I mean, these are like pretty big drums, usually a 16-inch circumference, or not, a 16-inch diameter and an 18-inch. And when you start adding that second floor tom onto your right side or whatever, you start kind of like playing behind yourself. Like, it's a really long way to go to get to that other one. And he mentioned how some other band that he was touring with had his other tom on the left side. So the 16-inch on the right, 18-inch on the left. And if you're like really good with your rudiments and your paradiddles and shit, like, that really works out for you.
Shout out to paradiddles. Actually,
yeah.
New drinking game rule. Paradiddles. Finish your drink.
So I always thought it was really cool. And watching the video, I mean, first of all, Travis Barker's in the video, which I didn't notice until probably 10 years later, very recently, that he's just casually in there. But there's a lot of similarities between Cyrus Belushi and Travis Barker. At this time, they're both playing OCDP drums, Orange County Drum and Percussion, I believe is what it was called. They're playing 2 floor toms, one on the right, one on the left. They're both playing Zildjian's Z custom cymbals. I think no, Jerry Finn was producing Blink. Either way, Cyrus and Travis, lots of similarities between them, and it's kind of fun to see that as I'm a bit older and can appreciate that.
They were in each other's videos a lot more than I think even I realized before doing this show.
For sure.
Not the Travis Barker cameo in this one, you're saying?
Yeah, he's just like standing on stage for a minute. Like 3 of the members of the Transplants are in this video.
It's a pretty chaotic video, and we'll get to it in a second. But also, like, I had no idea forever that the dudes in the garage in First Date were New Found Glory. So
yeah,
I guess I didn't realize those paths crossed in such an intertwined way, even down to like maybe influencing each other's like use of the instrument, the drums. You know what I mean? So definitely interesting. It intertwines a little bit further as well on Sticks and Stones. Mark Hoppus played bass on Something I Call Personality.
Ooh,
and Matt Skiba, actually. And Dan Andriano of the Alkaline Trio, Tom, had a little bit of backing vocal action on Forget My Name. There's a few other cameos.
Interesting.
But those wanted to pull those 2 out. So yeah, they're definitely intertwined. And apparently heading into Sticks and Stones, and the reason I bring up Sticks and Stones so much and kind of the change of mindset maybe is to kind of maybe at least shed a little bit of light on My Friends Over You, the energy, the lyrics, etc. But apparently the band was trying to move away from the lyrical nature of their self-titled, which every song maybe in their eyes was all about girls, etc. And obviously My Friends Over You is like the original pop, not original, but like a notable I'm going to hang out with my friends instead anthem where if we're talking about kind of are they emo dialogue, you know, emo is definitely more of a pining situation, kind of an unfairly pining, like really like, you know, there's obviously it's a problematic genre as we talk about pretty much weekly on the show. But yeah, it's more just, you know, there's not a ton of pining. It's just like, I want to go fart elsewhere with my buds. So, but I will say this, I do not think this video is fart punk, and I would love to continue talking about why the 90s hadn't ended, and this is not in fact a farty situation, but we'll get to that later.
Okay.
This is the dumbest show ever, and I love it. I love you, and thanks for being here, everybody. So, 2002, August 27th, My Friend Over You was released as a single. While the track was doing well on radio, the president of the group's label stopped funding the track and decided to reinvest the money in Shaggy. And at this point, these are tough 2000s decisions being made here, Tom. I'm not going to knock it. I'm just going to sit here and say I'm glad I wasn't the guy making those choices.
What was Shaggy doing in 2002?
I'm just going to like sloppily guess it wasn't me, but I couldn't say.
Well, I'm only getting Scooby-Doo results at the moment. So
you gotta honestly, shout out to Shaggy from Scooby-Doo for having like kind of a meme renaissance over the last 5 years. He's taken on this like demonic, powerful being like thing in kind of the shit posting circles that I don't even know if that's true. I just have one friend from high school that posts a ton about the ton of Shaggy memes. Usually I mute everybody on Facebook because I don't really like being on it or seeing anything, but it's really just his posting memes about Shaggy that I see. That's my ideal social media feed, by the way, is this one dude I used to play soccer with posting about Shaggy. That's it.
All right. So yeah, in 2002, Shaggy was nominated for a Grammy with It Wasn't Me, while New Found Glory not at the Grammys that year, I don't believe. I would dare to guess. Oh gosh. Anyways.
Either way, it's released. We get it. We're deciding we're going to have a music video, even though we're going to invest a little more in Shaggy. That might explain why it's kind of that band in a box. People coming to see the band video, maybe a mix of both. But you're saying it was directed by, some pretty high up names a little bit.
Yeah, let's get through the rest of these here. It was directed by the Malloys, which was the name that Emmett and Brendan Malloy directed music videos under. They've had a lot of big songs, including First Date, which is interesting. Not only did the band share members for the video, they shared the music video directors. They also did The Rock Show, The Adventure by Angels and Airwaves, Girlfriend by Avril Lavigne, Troublemaker by Weezer, Hate Everyone by Say Anything, Blah 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 by Kesha, and of course his biggest get, Afternoon Delight by Will Ferrell.
Mm-hmm.
This was the final music video that played on Much USA before the shift to Fuse.
I would say another feather in the 90s hadn't ended, Cap. If Fuse is not around and firing on all cylinders, I would argue the 2000s hadn't started.
I'm not sure what Much USA is, but I'm interested to learn a little bit more about that.
Yeah.
They played some big festivals, Inland Invasion. They appeared on TRL in the Late Late Show. Yeah, maybe the 90s aren't over if TRL is still kicking too.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's the thing is one thing I've learned from doing the show is TRL lasted forever. It ended like earlier this year, I think. That's pretty much what I've learned. Yeah, they did a bunch of touring. I mean, they didn't just tour with Blink for like the full 10 years and get famous or whatever. Like they toured with something corporate, Finch, and Further Seems Forever a little bit after the release of this record.
And the album charted at number 4, Pat, on Billboard 200, selling 91,000 copies in its first week, which is pretty big to me, I guess.
You don't have to guess. I think it's real. I think we're here to be like, hey, everybody, 2 bands named their bands after the words on this album. 4 is a high number. They were swapping, blows with Blink, touring with them, kind of announcing pop punk to the world, or at least 2000s pop punk to the world, not to take anything from the people who think Green Day might have grandfathered it, which of course they did, or at least the pop aspect of it. But I don't think you have to guess at all. I think it's like, let's, on this episode this week, be like, New Found Glory was huge, and this might have been one of their biggest moments of their career. One of them. I'm not saying it is, but like, I don't think Sticks and Stones gets enough credit necessarily. But yeah, it was huge. Yeah, celebrate it. I don't think it's blazing.
It took 18 years, however. Around this time last year, the album was certified platinum for combined sales and album equivalent sales of over 1 million units in the U.S. I don't think New Found Glory deserves to be a platinum album band, but I feel like their $8 ticket sales to their shows makes me think they're not a platinum band. They are, and I feel like they should totally be there in my head all the time. That's great.
What's interesting is, because I know we're both, Tom really loves it when I try to tie sports into this, but sometimes a player will play for so long, they end up on a lot of like all-time scoring lists or all-time rushing yard lists. And it's like, were they ever great enough to be amongst these names, or did they just do it forever? So it's kind of an interesting discussion about like, since 97, they've just been like doing what they do, which is a great thing. But yeah, it is interesting. Here's an interesting question. We talk about the crazy numbers All American Rejects put up, and that's kind of the litmus test, because they were kind of the band from the stuff we talk about on the show that had the most commercial success. I think we'd have come to that conclusion. But like in the sands of time, how are each band looked upon? Like, I guess All American Rejects would probably have the bigger cult fandom, or like,
which is so
voracious
surprising.
Fans.
I feel like I don't know anyone that loves All American Rejects.
Would there be some crazy people on Twitter that just straight up stuck up for New Found Glory like crazy and just ate you alive for dropping a hot take that put them in a bad light?
Well, we had a listener drop a take that put New Found Glory in a bad light.
That's true. They actually won our Scorch Fest this spring. We had a Scorch Fest, and I hope to do it again next spring. But Nathan won the spatula this year by saying that what was the take again? I don't even remember what it was.
He said every New Found Glory song is hot garbage.
Oh, yeah, that was... Blazing.
Actually, there was some redemption there where he, like, just for the photo op, he bought all of the New Found Glory albums to take a picture with the spatula in front of them. And then he actually listened to their albums and was like, you know what? I take it back. New Found Glory f***s. He didn't say that, but he does. He did like
he picked
songs.
A favorite. It wasn't Sticks and Stones, but I appreciate him being open-minded. Yeah, let's skip through some of these. They celebrated the 10th anniversary, doing some tours and stuff like that, as bands kind of have done throughout the 2010s. It was kind of a fun thing. We're going to go see Motion City do a version of that this January. But yeah, I think it's like, oh yeah, All Time Low in the story so far. Name their bands off songs off this album. I don't think we should just like breeze past that. It's like kind of a major thing, I think. Like, yeah, they are the Grand Peps, or at least. Again, we're not a Mount Rushmore show. I say that all the time. Maybe we are, maybe we aren't. But New Found Glory's got to be in the discussion for pop punk type situations.
Hey, did you guys know that we have a Patreon? I'm sure you do by now. I want to take a second to shout out our top tier Patreon supporters, our Council of Elders. In this group, we have Andre Prevost, Johnny Leftwich, Jason Carey, Anonymous, Chris Lukey, Nathan Eshelman, and Drew Edwards. Thank you all so much for supporting the show. Thank you to everyone who is in our Patreon. It is honestly insane that people want to financially contribute to the show. It helps us put a little bit more time and do some extra fun things in the group. If you'd like to check it out, you can head to patreon.com/reminiscent. See the 3 tiers that we offer, see if anything works for you. And in all of those tiers, we have different things like weekly post shows, early access to every episode, behind the scenes photos, videos, monthly AMAs, live recordings, all types of stuff going in there. Again, that's patreon.com/reminiscent. Thank you to everyone that supports the show, and back to the episode.
The music video, Here's a question that where they open up on the stage and Newfound Glory has a very specific font written behind the band. And thoughts on 80s era labelers that with that specific font that you would just, I don't know, thoughts on labelers?
I love them. I think it's a cool look. I think it's timeless, and it sets the tone for sure.
Yeah, I think we had a buddy in Lake Cliff who bought one as a kind of a gag gift and just started labeling everything in his house. And his mom came home and was not thrilled. He'd be like lamp and then stick it to things like that. As far as teen shenanigans go, I thought that was pretty amazing stuff. Anyway,
one of our friends, Aaron Lonke, who we went to high school with, he did that in the King TV studio, which is like the closed circuit like TV station for the show, and the teacher asked him, because he did the same thing, desk, computer, and she asked him to take them all down, and he fucking labeled everything, every ceiling tile, every floor tile, every like spindle on the railing, like there were thousands of them everywhere.
I like the bit. I'm a fan of it. I still think it's funny. Here's a thought. So they come out, they got that font behind them, black tees, long shorts. Shout out to, any thoughts on the long shorts era?
I just posted a photo on our Twitter where I was wearing halfway down the shins cargo shorts, and at the time they were awesome. I don't miss them. Those things were so heavy, man.
They're pretty heavy, and you could carry heavy things in them.
Yeah,
pretty wild. A lot of pockets
full of rocks, dude.
Yeah, cargo pants and shorts. Like, I never needed to carry a hammer to high school, but I could have.
Those are carpenter pants.
Hey, man, what's this little doohickey for?
It's for your hammer.
Just in case you need to do any construction, man. Don't ask questions. Just wear the pants. Thoughts on skull and crossbones in general? One of the black tees in this video features one.
Sure.
In a non-pirate setting, I'll clarify.
Well, you could be watching the new premiere of Jackass Forever or whatever. They've got the skull. No, those are skull and crutches. Skull and crossbones are okay if done with taste.
I like that grade. If you come to reminiscent.com, it's this is the type of discourse you're looking for. Thoughts on skull and crossbones? I think as a concept, skull and crossbones are okay. And I agree wholeheartedly with that sentiment, to be honest with you. Thoughts on bassists with distinctly insane person energies, a la Alien Ant Farm Smooth Criminal video, a la this Newfound Glory My Friends Ever You video.
I love it, man. I always loved Ian performing. He always had like the green hair and God, shirtless with his belly hanging out.
Here's another point in the 90s category here as I begin to build my case throughout the course of the episode. I don't see any emo hair in this video, but I see full hair dyes. I see frosted tips on Jordan, things like that.
Okay.
It's still the 90s, man. I think the hair might be the biggest tell, but
I think that might just be early 2000s, but we'll
just see. We'll just see. Decades don't end on the zero. I'm just saying. Is this a kids come to see the band video where we've talked about videos where, you see kids running through high school hallways, this and that, Avril Lavigne, notably, coming to see the new act, kind of encouraging the viewer to do the same? Or is this a band in a box video where they don't have enough video to do anything other than put a band in a room and then film something within that room because the budget's pretty small?
I think it's neither, and it's far beyond either of those things.
Yeah, I'm with it. It's kind of both, but it's also neither. And I think it's more of I don't know, let's work through it. But yeah, I agree that it's neither. It's kind of too big to be a band in the box, and the fans are already there.
There's too much going on. There's bits.
There's a lot.
There's a cast. There's a crew. I mean,
it's almost more of an exploration of iMovie editing techniques or something. We'll work through later. Thoughts on people looking into the screen who are not as famous as they will become soon, saying things like "Hi, Mom," whether they're athletes or musicians or what have you.
Classic.
Yeah, heartfelt. Love it. I'm here for it as well.
In all the small things, wasn't someone in the crowd holding a sign that said "Hi, Mom," and right next to it was like, "Travis, I'm pregnant," or am I making that up?
Yeah. Shout out to moms. Let's just
they're dope.
Let's just cut to the chase. Yeah, they are dope. The dopest. Camo shorts culture. Did we miss anything there? Was there a brief moment in the 2000s where camo shorts were a factor in your life at all?
If you were in the hardcore scene, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember it that much in pop punk, though. I don't know. I don't think I ever owned anything camo, nor, actually, you know what? I have a windbreaker from Braille Skateboarding that has camo sleeves on it, which seems out of character for me, but I like it.
Okay, here's the first arguably fart punk moment of the video where the pizza delivery guy comes. They're performing, everyone's going nuts. There's different like kind of small jokes peppered throughout, right? There's just a pizza delivered and the guys start eating.
So pop punk.
Here's where I think like, yeah, I don't think it's fart punk, which we talk about on the show a lot, which is kind of us grappling with Sum 41, Blink-182, or Bowling for Soup for that matter, where there's elements of people usually just using the bathroom or something at some point in the video, or finding a fart funny, something like that. I think this is 90s indifference bleeding through, and we'll get to some of the things
90s indifference.
About what. Yeah, like Kurt Cobain was on the cover of Rolling Stone once with a t-shirt where he wrote "Corporate Magazine Suck" on it, and it was just like, we don't care at all. And it's like, great.
Edgy.
Adding a ton, Gen X. Thanks for playing. Reality Bites is just okay. I don't get why we get shit on so much and you guys just get a free pass because Kurt Cobain existed. But more on that some other week. Jordan promptly, he's doing a take, looking at the camera, one of the shots, and then he kind of slaps the camera. It spins to reveal the director and no crowd. It's just like part of the filming process. Dude. I really love this move.
I thought it was so funny. He like smacks the camera like he's super excited, spins 180 degrees, and it's just a bunch of bored looking dudes like filming it. And when they notice the camera's on, they're like, no, and like waving the camera back. I don't know, man. Like it's not, it's obviously not highbrow shit, but I feel like. No,
I think the reason I bring up the 90s indifference thing is like, I'll just keep it on the Nirvana train of thought. They were on some show and they're supposed to be lip syncing, but they all just kind of danced and didn't play their instruments or whatever. Like, isn't it so insane how little we care or whatever? Like, oh my God, everything's fake. Like, sticking it to the man.
That's not the story behind that performance. They made them lip sync, or they made them whatever you would call lip syncing the instrumentals. And they were like, that's so fucking dumb. So then they just took the piss out of
and it was dumb. Yes, it was dumb. Yeah. The reason I'm saying this 90s indifference is bleeding into this video and it is not farty in any way is I think they're kind of saying like, hey, look, there's nobody. It is what it is, and we're going to embrace it for the sake of entertainment. And I think that's kind of why I'm trying to fuse the two together as we work through here.
Okay. Well, it gets like real goofy real fast though.
Oh, I mean, that's why it's like, you can make an argument for it. They hung out with Blink all the time. This just is a fart punk video. Let's not kid ourselves. And I'd listen to that argument, but I don't think it's quite telling the whole story. A quick aside here, thoughts on Jordan's mic work. He flips it up, sings up into it and stuff like that. Underrated performer, thoughts?
Absolutely. He's so incredible. I mean, just out of 10 all the time. And
is that his main strength? Give me the case for Jordan, like in 2 sentences. I'm not saying he doesn't have it. I'm just asking.
I just always felt like he really gives it everything he's got. It's always a performance. It's always like for the sake of the audience. Like he is there to like give them a good show. I've always felt that way about him live and in music videos.
Would you feel comfortable saying that every performance he's ever given, some sweat has come out of his body?
Oh yeah.
For sure. I would agree with that. And more power to him. We're at the point at this point where there's girls who are there to, I guess, be the sex appeal of the video or whatnot, and they gave them shirts that say typical video girl on them. So at this point, definitely, that's what I'm talking about with the indifferent stuff. This is one of many examples of that.
Gotcha.
Hey, look at us. We're doing the music video thing, but like it's very clear, and we're going to instruct you as to how we're approaching this. Also, you're kind of meeting the band in their kind of thesis statement, so to speak, through this video, kind of like, aren't we something?
Jordan's doing a weird dance. His arms and his legs are stiff, and he's like, "Ho ho ho ho!"
Yeah.
Not even singing, just turning into chaos.
But
pretty quickly.
I don't want to downplay this so much. Trying to make a point about how I feel which decade this belongs in. It's also an incredible song. Like it's a super fun video, and like the riff is insane, and it's tremendous. But it's interesting how they approach it from like a band standpoint, I guess, performance standpoint in the video specifically. A little bit of fighting on stage is kind of a wrestling belt, which is also super 90s. At this point when I was watching the video, I had that distinct thought, like, had the 2000s even happened yet? Is this why Dashboard was getting booed at this time? Because people were still putting wrestling belts in punk music videos and everything like that. Any thoughts on that? Or
I mean, it's just, yeah, I mean, wrestling, I don't know, did seem kind of like 90s-ish, but I just like, I really want to know how, if this video was storyboarded or if they just turned a camera on and said like, do whatever you want, because like two people, someone runs in from the crowd and just tackles one of the band members, and then there's just wrestling on the stage as they're still performing. Like none of the other members can see what's happening.
Yeah.
And the wrestling belt comes out of nowhere.
There's like
holding it above the crowd.
Kind of the video editing technology stuff that starts to come in. Like they just make their heads big and they bobble like, whoa, like, it's hard to do in an audio format.
What is the point of that?
I don't know, other than to say like we can, and they obviously weren't super amazed by it either. But I will say this, definitely a capital F fun video. Like they're obviously having a blast. I'm having a blast as a viewer every time I see it. Everyone taking turns singing. Like it really starts to matter less and less throughout the video who's playing which instrument, whether or not they're playing a toy drum set or a real one, who's singing into the mic, who's even in the crowd for that matter. Like you said, Travis Barker's there. At one point, Jordan's singing, hands the mic to an audience member to finish a line, and it's him in the audience singing it back to himself.
Just fucking freaking out.
Yeah. Good performance overall. Like they do try to do the indifference thing, but it's also very fun and they're into it. Thoughts on bands high-fiving people in the front row, or just performers for that matter?
Yeah, Bonnie Fraser from Stan Atlantic held my hand for like 10 seconds during a song once, and one of the highlights of my life, man. That's why I get to the front row. I want to interact with the singers. I want them to put the mic in my face and let me actually. This might have been at a Newfound Glory show. There was someone in the front row who like clearly didn't know the band, but was having a lot of fun. I don't know, it might have been them, but the singer put the mic in his face and the guy just went, ooh. It was like, dude, he was so loud through the speakers, man.
You even altered the speakers of my headphones themselves when you did that while recording. That's the first time that's ever happened to me. Usually I punish Tom throughout the course of recording with how soft and loud it gets. But yeah, my right ear just almost had a seizure, I think, or a stroke. At this point, let's see, where are we at? There's a little upper balcony part in this little performance space. Somebody swings on a rope. Thoughts on swinging on very long ropes, possibly into water, just as an activity?
So I used to go on like a little camping boating trip every year with one of my sister's friends when I was like 8, 9, or 10. Like our parents were friends. They would take us to Kenzu Dam, which was
shout out
maybe an
to
hour.
The Pennsylvania homies.
Yeah. And they had
and
this
to
rope
dams
swing.
In general, I guess. No, actually, you know what?
Dams are good.
I need to think about that a little bit.
Dams are maybe not good sometimes.
I don't know. As soon as I said it, I was like, I can't speak to all dams. I really can't. Let me take that back, just in case it's like a strangely hot button issue. I don't feel comfortable speaking about all dams.
Oh my God.
Little too dicey. Anyway.
So I once did what happened to the...
Yeah, Tom, I know you asked me to stop being so political on the show.
So I once did what the guy in this video did, where there was like a tree that overhung a cliff, and I was like pretty young, and my mom was like, okay, just swing and let go when you get to the other side. And I was so scared.
The trees that overhang cliffs.
And
I'm so sorry.
I didn't let go when I got to the other side. I was so scared. No. I came swinging back, and I hear my whole family screaming, and I don't know what's going on. And I think they tried to like catch me, but then I went again for the second time. And that time I let go at the end, but obviously I didn't swing quite as far, and I like barely missed the rocks. Dude.
Brutal. There's a place called Bass Falls in Lake Cliff. You had to sneak through the golf course to get there, but a neighborhood acquaintance, she slipped while jumping. It was terribly algae ridden, little waterfall at the end of this little one of the creeks, which, if we're being honest, was mostly GE runoff, but
Sure.
We played in it a lot. And she was one of the most athletic people I've ever met in my life. And if she hadn't been, I'm pretty sure she would have died that day. But she like kicked her way away from the rocks on her way down in a way that allowed her to avoid the rocks underneath. It was
Jesus.
I'll never forget watching that in real time. Everything slowed down, and it was one of the most insane feats of human reflexes or strength or athleticism I've ever seen. It was truly incredible. But yeah, being where cliff meets lake can be a dangerous proposition, as we're learning. Anyway.
All right, more about the video.
We're getting to the bridge here. Kind of, I don't know if you call it a breakdown, but my note here, lest we forget that Newfound Glory throws the heck down. I don't want to get lost in this chitter chatter. This song is powerful.
So good.
Yeah. Care to expand on that at all? Like, even watching it again, I'm like, oh yeah, wow. All right. Me, lame 30s at a concert. Yeah.
No, I mean, it is a very well composed song. Every part has a purpose. It all adds to what's happening on either side of it. The beginning of the bridge, holds out "My Friends Over You," and there's parts where like a choir is singing, which is like beautiful in the song, but then they make fun of it in the video. And I feel like there's someone we should know who the conductor of this ragtag group of choir kids is, with Liberty spikes and eyebrow piercings. Everyone's looking real goth. Around this time,
some of these, what comes next was a play on toxicity.
Yeah, so there's a part where everyone is standing as still as they can, and one of the guitarists, I think it might have been Chad, just kind of goes crazy for like 30 seconds, but then they speed it up into like a 3-second clip. So it looks like everyone's just kind of standing there and he's like going fucking nuts. And then he just falls on the ground like, whoa, what happened? And apparently they're making fun of the Toxicity music video, which I don't know enough about System of a Down. But
this is another one of those like, hey, look, we can edit video in a new way. Let's toss it into one of the videos that's coming out next. But I like that. Because they make fun of it again, where Jordan's legs are doing a crazy thing, and he's just like, "Isn't this? They had us do this. Look at me
doing like an Irish step dancing thing."
Yes,
and he's like, "Whoa, I don't even know what's going on." And at one point, it shows Cyrus's leg, and he just has a Bigfoot foot. Like, I don't know how any of this came about, but it's so hilarious. And especially to a 13-year-old, I just never seen anything. I've never seen cinema as good as this.
Sure. I'll buy into that. I'm not in a very combative mood today. Yeah, sure. I'm in on it.
A music film.
Yeah. It is at the very least an iMovie, if not an iFilm. Some of my notes here my final notes here are, A, God, they look young, and B, welcome to the new decade, same teens, new decade, new tech. I think we're ushered into the 2000s a little bit with this one of many, videos and things like that. But I think there's a lot to be said here for this being a transitional period is all. But yeah, still teens looking to act a fool and whatnot.
Yeah, I can see it taking elements from either side of the decade here. I'll allow it. One of the things I did want to bring up, anytime I think of the band Newfound Glory, I think of Chris Lukey now. There's a part where Jordan is getting tattooed as he's singing the bridge. And Chris Lukey actually got tattooed by Jordan Pundik. He's a tattoo artist now, and I guess he'll every now and then be like, I have an opening next week. Who wants to come? And Chris happened to like get the spot. I don't know if it was like by lottery or what, but he got tattooed by Jordan Pundik, and that's cool as hell. I want to get tattooed by Jordan. I don't know. I mean, the song, for as like goofy as the video is, the song to me was like revolutionary for my life. I mean, someone I think it might have been the Patreon AMA was like, what's the first thing you notice about a song? And like, to me, it's like, how much does my body feel like it needs to move while I'm listening to it? And this whole song is unrelenting. Halftime, it's basically one huge breakdown, the whole song. And it's like, Cartel would have a moment in their song that was special because it went down to halftime. Newfound Glory just said, F it, let's do a whole song that's, the special moment. Let's make it 3.5 minutes long. And I love it.
I would say the first thing I notice about a song is whether or not Jordan Pudnick is singing. Yeah.
Because if Jordan Pudnick is singing.
Yeah, that's how I sort through music. It's just like, okay, this isn't New Found Glory. All right, cool. What other band is this? That's my first step in discovering music.
Do you think Jordan is one of the most distinctive voices in the genre?
Yeah. I'd love to be wrong about that, but I don't think we are. No, yeah, sure. I don't even want to think more about it. Like, yeah. And then tweet at us if we're wrong, but yes. Maybe Bedlight for Blue Eyes, but like he's just like sings. No, it would be him. It would be him.
Jordan. Maybe Tom
Wait, what's the qualifier you said? Unique?
Like the most, or maybe not, no, distinct. Like you just know immediately.
Oh, yeah. I would feel comfortable saying that because also that doesn't mean anything necessarily. So yeah, I would say it's, I feel.
You can commit while being non-committal.
I'd rather commit to that than taking a stance on dams at large, to be quite honest with you. Anyway, fun video. And also, we should not have taken such a long break from talking about New Found Glory. Bastard. Oh my God. We were so nice for so long.
Yeah. No, this is one of
Are you mad at me for not taking a stance on dams? I know how you feel about that.
No, I keep thinking of like every little bit that they did in this video and how, I don't know, man, like I think New Found Glory is one of the bands that made like being funny in a pop punk video necessary for like a decade. And all of these bands tried to do this like pop punk humor that rarely ever paid off. You think about the Josie music video where it's kind of like, it's not quite formed yet. It's not all like mature. It hasn't boiled down enough. I feel like this is the pinnacle of that.
That video's more about Alyssa Milano agreeing to be in it than them being funny.
Right. But like for years, bands tried to do the zany music video and it just never quite worked out as well as this one does.
I think that's a tremendous bow on all of this is if we're going to start giving major credit to New Found Glory, which we should overdue by our show specifically, I mean, why would anybody feel the need to be funny in any of these videos for a full like 8 to 12 years? You know what I mean? Like, because probably ones like this did it really well early on and kind of added that like indifference took on kind of a comedic tone in a way that got very fucking zany over the next like 6 years after 2002. So
for sure.
Why would that, without a roadmap, would that have happened? And I think, these were one of the early movers in that space, maybe. But I like that a lot. Yeah, I'll buy into that.
All right. Want to give a song of the week?
Yeah. They're going to be songs off Sob Rock for like a while. Been listening to a ton of John Mayer, hence the tweet. I'll start with Shouldn't Matter, But It Does. He uses the F word in it, and it is a powerful moment.
Awesome.
Actually, yeah, I don't really know John Mayer like that, but Spotify was like, hey, try this. So I did, and I like it.
You're on Spotify?
I'm on both. I don't know. Sometimes I work. It just depends. I
don't know. Give me Complete You by Chunk, No Captain Chunk. The album came out recently, and that song is so good. It features AJ Perdermo, the singer and bassist, the frontman of The Dangerous Summer. It has one of the best... Oh, if you haven't heard the song, I don't want to give it away. It has one of the best moments in any modern pop punk song ever, but the album is so good. This song is great. It was one of the singles. It was like the last single. They just put out a music video, which is fun enough, but the song is just... It cured my depression for a solid week.
Fun enough sounds like the name of Paramore's 6th album. Anyway,
all right. Before we go slam,
I think that's Paramore. About it. Yeah, that's it. Right, surprise! It's a Paramore episode again. Tune in next week for Paramore. All right, just kidding. It's not going to be that, but they'll come up, I'm sure. Bye.
Yeah, bye.
Bye, Tom. Love you.
Thank you so much to everyone that listened to this episode. This is truly one of my favorite pop punk songs and music videos of all time. I think it defines what a pop punk music video is, as well as defining what the sound of pop punk is. Please hit us up on Twitter at _reminiscentfm and let us know, is New Found Glory emo? I truly don't even know. Give us your opinions. We love talking to you on Twitter after the show, and we'll catch you next week. We love you all so much. Bye, everyone.